Today was the day that Clarence would finally face his fear. Ever since he was little and for no reason, he had an overwhelming fear of water. When his friends would go to the nearby pond to swim, he would stay on shore and read a book, watch them fool around, and even sometimes make up excuses so he didn't have to go at all. Now at 21, he was ready to put this behind him. The recently opened Mineral Springs Hotel was offering swimming lessons a few nights of the week, and he signed up. He walked out of the locker room in his bathing suit with a towel in hand and got into the pool. After a few lessons, the instructors told the students to practice what they've learned in the shallow end. Still a bit nervous, he began to swim around the corner. That's when he thought he heard a voice coming from under the water. He turned to another student and asked, "Did you hear that?" "Hear what?" the other student replied. "Sorry, must have been nothing." Clarence began to swim around cautiously and once again heard a voice.
"Come play with me."
The voice of a little girl. He built up some courage and decided to go under the water. As he looked around this time, much louder and clearer he heard,
"Come play with me."
And then he felt something grab his hands and feet and begin to pull him down. Paralyzed, he sank to the bottom of the pool. As everything went black, the last thing he heard was,
"We're going to have fun forever now."
I'm Rob Coakley, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Alton, Illinois, Part 2. The Alton Cemetery. The Alton Cemetery is said to be haunted by countless spirits. The ghost of Lucy Haskell has been seen playing in the vicinity of her family's plot. In life, Lucy Haskell was gifted her own house just to play in it at the age of 5. Sadly, at the age of 9, Lucy would contract black diphtheria and pass away. Her spirit has been seen at the playhouse. However, she is more likely to be seen or heard in the Alton Cemetery. The Woman in Black. The Grandview Mausoleum on the grounds of the cemetery is the final resting place of dozens of people. However, it is generally locked to the public. This hasn't stopped a mysterious woman in black from wandering the halls, appearing in the window, and outside around it. If you go here and talk to her, she is often heard whispering back. Elijah P. Lovejoy. Elijah Lovejoy was a famous abolitionist in the 1800s. He ran a publication in St. Louis that was burned to the ground by an angry mob. After this, he moved his publication to Alton, Illinois. Once again the victim of an angry mob, he wasn't going to take it lying down this time. As a mob set fire to the building, he came around the corner to confront them and was shot dead. After his death, he was buried in an unmarked grave and was lost for years. An effort was made later in the 1800s, and he was discovered to now be buried under a roadway. His body was exhumed, and a massive monument was built in the cemetery in his honor. Since the completion, there have been sightings of Elijah roaming around his monument for over 100 years now. The Mineral Springs Hotel. The Mineral Springs Hotel started construction in 1914. While under construction for an ice house to serve the meatpacking building standing on the grounds, a natural mineral spring was found underneath where it was being built. The brothers believed the springs to be a place of healing for many different sicknesses and would pivot and build a hotel instead with the largest pool in the state and fill it with water from the springs for guests. When it opened its doors, the hotel was a sight to behold. Word spread, and people from all over would come stay at the hotel just to experience it. By the time the 1950s rolled around, it had begun to lose its luster. The place became slightly unkempt, walls began to crack, and eventually, it closed its doors in 1971. However, it seems some of the guests have decided to stay. In 1978, the building was repurposed as a shopping center, which it is still used as today. The Jasmine Lady. A couple in the early 1920s decided they needed to get away for a while. They made the decision to stay at the Mineral Springs Hotel for a few nights and enjoy some of the luxuries the place provided. One day, upon returning to his room, the husband found his wife in bed with another man. Naturally, a confrontation began. Things began to get very heated, especially between the wife and husband. The husband went after his wife, and she ran from the room. He chased her to the top of the stairway, and this is where we have some conflicting reports of what happened next. What we do know is that the woman fell down the staircase, breaking her neck and dying immediately once hitting the floor. One report states that she slipped in the middle of the argument. Others believe that the husband shoved her down the stairs. Upon seeing his wife laying dead, the man returned to the room, grabbed a revolver, and took his own life. The bottom of the stairs is one of the many spots of the old hotel with heavy activity. People have seen a woman fall down the stairs, and when they go to help, she's no longer there. The spot also frequently has a strong smell of perfume lingering. The room the couple believed to have stayed in also has had the same smell of perfume and burning cigars. The Room of Sorrow. There's a room on the second floor believed to be a place where multiple people have also taken their own life. It is believed that a businessman staying here in the 1930s hung himself in the room. He doesn't show his presence too often, but occasionally, people have been able to communicate with him via spirit box and EVPs. The spirit that shows herself a bit more frequently is that of a woman named Pearl. Pearl and her husband were going through marital issues, and one day it was just too much for Pearl. She checked into the hotel, went into her room, and took her own life. The method of how she did this is unknown. It's been said that Pearl enjoys the company of women more than men, and is more likely to show herself in their presence. She's appeared as an apparition, orbs, and has also communicated via voice recordings. The underground pool. When you venture into the basement of the Mineral Springs Hotel, you're sure to see what the hotel has always been known for: the pool. What was built with the intention of healing people may now be the home of something a bit more sinister. There are multiple stories of drownings in this pool. The one that we know for sure happened is that of a 21-year-old man named Clarence. When you enter the Mineral Springs Hotel, his death certificate is hung on the wall. In 1918, Clarence was taking swimming lessons at the pool. Inexplicably, during the lessons, the instructors weren't paying any attention, and when they looked back at the pool, Clarence was on the bottom of it, already dead. The other spirit in the area is that of a girl named Cassandra. The story of Cassandra is that her family was holding her 10th birthday party at the hotel, during which she met the same exact fate as Clarence. The adults took their eyes off the pool for a moment, and when they looked back, Cassandra was already dead at the bottom of the pool. There have been interactions with a spirit in the area named Cassandra, who often moves marbles in the pool and appears as pink orbs. However, some believe Cassandra is something a bit more sinister. Demons are known to take the appearance of childlike spirits at times to lure people in, and we know that this floor of the building meddled with dark forces back in the day. Seances were held down here in the early days of the hotel, and it is believed that they may have pulled a little more in than they bargained for. Something in the basement that goes by William has shown himself to be very sinister. He's shown up giving threatening EVPs and has even been known to scratch people and make their heart rate speed up, causing people to get lightheaded or sometimes even pass out. Some believe that Cassandra and William are the same demon, disguising himself to lure people in, then inflicting harm upon them. Many of the current shop owners at the old hotel refuse to even go downstairs. When asked why, one shop owner said, "It changes you, and it takes you days for you to even begin to feel yourself again. Why is this demon here? Will he ever leave willingly? And if not, will this area ever successfully be cleansed?" As we wrap up our exploration of Alton, Illinois, does this place truly have the resume to call itself one of the most haunted towns in America? Between the centuries-old haunted mansion, the Civil War-era prison, the graveyard where spirits still roam, and the old hotel where guests still linger, and a demon potentially resides, I believe that they definitely have a claim to be known as a place to investigate for any paranormal enthusiast. This is Hometown Ghost Stories, and that was Alton, Illinois, Part 2.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. This is episode number what is it? Episode 13 of Hometown Ghost Stories?
13, yeah, right.
Yeah, so 12 part 2. But episode 13 of Hometown Ghost Stories. I'm Jesse Wilkins on Twitter at Jesse C. Wilkins. That's Rob Coakley. He's on Twitter at King Coakley.
What's up, guys?
Wilkins. Dave on Twitter at Dave Wilkins 12. Hey.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
So that's part 2 of Alton, Illinois, Mineral Springs Hotel. Dave, you had mentioned earlier that this week that is the least creepy name of a creepy place.
I just thought, you think of demonic activity. You don't think of Mineral Springs.
Yeah.
No, I mean, well, that's what it was built for, right?
Exactly.
It was originally built for healing, so it took quite a turn from what it was originally purposed for. But I had another site I wanted to add into this one, which was the Unitarian Church, which some of the locals say that the Unitarian Church is where they think is the most haunted place out of the entire town. However, as I say in every episode, I couldn't do it, man, because the Mineral Springs Hotel, it's like got a ton of like suicides in it. And the story behind the First Unitarian Church is also based on a suicide. And I'm like, man, it's just kind of a little overkill for one episode. So I don't think we're going to do a part 3 of Alton. I'm not going to rule it out completely in the future. But I think the way we would do a part 3 is if we actually ended up going there and investigating some places. I think that would be probably the only way to do part 3, unless somebody sent us in some cool personal stories.
Yeah. We'll see. So that's always something that we could definitely come back to. Obviously, if we ever end up visiting that area, then that's something that we would return to as well.
So I'll just hit the story of the First Unitarian Church real quick. Like the quick version is there was a minister or a priest. I'm not sure. I can't remember what that particular church has, but in the 1930s, because everything happens in the 1930s, he hung himself in the church. And ever since then, it's been considered one of the most haunted places in Alton. And a lot of the interviews I saw with the people who actually bring you on the ghost tours in Alton, when asked, they say that the place that they think is the most haunted is the First Unitarian Church.
Okay. So the spirit of the guy that hanged himself is supposed to be haunting it, whether he's a pastor or a minister or whatever.
Right. And I didn't dig too much into it because I just felt, like I said, it would be a little too much for all of that in the same episode. But
does he appear as a broken neck apparition?
We've had those before. Those are
fun.
So let's get back to Mineral Springs. You had mentioned Clarence, and he's the guy who died in the pool.
Yeah, I believe it was in 1918.
I've read a couple reports that he dove into the shallow end and broke his neck that way. That could be another broken neck apparition. Who knows? But this is all kind of. There's a few shaky ones. Some just say he drowned. Then I
think the death certificate says drowning, from what I recall. But
well, if you break your neck, you would then drown.
But either way,
paralyzed. But
dead in a pool.
I feel like if an adult's going to drown in the shallow end of a pool, there would have to be a reason, like a broken neck.
Yeah. So there was that. I heard a couple other reports that he wasn't discovered until the rest of the class got in the pool, and then his dead body just bumped into someone's legs. And that's actually important because they don't get a lot of activity from his ghost in the pool, but some people do report saying that they feel something bump up against their legs when they're in the pool now. So obviously the pool is drained. There's no more water in the pool. You showed a couple of pictures of it in the episode.
Yeah.
Of like it's a drained out pool, but they do paranormal investigations. I don't know if that's a place that does like, investigations on the regular. Like a lot of these houses that we've been covering lately, like they're now open to book it out if you wanted to show up with a paranormal investigation team, and you could do that. But there's been a few different ghost shows that have been to that hotel, and
They do allow it.
They've got
You
some
can-
spirit box stuff and everything.
You can take tours. You can also book investigation nights there as of the moment. But yeah, so they do allow all that stuff. There's walkthroughs, there's actual investigations, there's all that.
There was
Wait.
another story. I'm sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
No good.
There was another story of a man who supposedly died in the pool. And I'm glad you didn't include the story. I don't even know if you read about the story, but this one, he had gotten in an argument with his wife, a different argument than the one that you talked about. And he went down. There was they used to hold like parties down there. So there was like a big, like fancy party. They had an orchestra playing and everything. And he went down there without her. She was mad. She was going to stay in the room. And then when she came down to the party, like an hour later, she saw him dancing with another woman. And so she took off her like high heel or whatever and just hit him over the head with it. And he fell into the pool and drowned in the pool. But that one, I don't think there's any like records to back it up. I think it's kind of local folklore, like and just a story that had floated around about it. No pun intended. But there was that one as well. So that one's not really sourced, but that's just kind of another local legend and another ghost who's supposed to haunt the place.
There's also the painter too. Did you guys, when you were looking this over, when I told you this was what I was doing, did you come across the story of George the painter?
I hate painters.
So
Dave's a painter. That's why I made that joke. I hate Dave.
I had to leave it out because same thing, man. It's the guy used to go to the bar at the hotel a ton. He drew up a gigantic tab, and what they decided to do instead of letting him like slowly repay him is they asked him to paint a mural in the hotel. So he got like halfway done or 75% done one day and just walked away from the painting and again killed himself. And they had to have other people come in and finish the mural.
But if you're just going to tell these stories anyways, you might as well have just done them.
Was that Lou Harwood? Because there's actually this is a true story.
The
if that was his name, I'm not sure. It doesn't give me all those details, but Lou Harwood shot himself at the hotel bar only a few years after it opened, and he reportedly still haunts the area today. His obituary is hung to commemorate him in the lobby. So that's not the only one. They also have Clarence's obituary hanging in the lobby as well.
Yeah,
I wonder
this guy was supposedly named George, but I mean,
you just said George. Yeah, so I guess another guy shot himself at the bar.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then there's Pearl Sands. I believe you talked about. Was that the one where she?
Yeah, she's upstairs.
She ate a bunch of pills and killed herself in the room.
Yeah,
it was suicide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So but there's more that are popping up. What were we gonna say?
So it's the hotel itself is just like this crazy hotel of that type of activity, and it's like, does it all link to the demonic spirit that's in the basement? Like, does that have something to do with it? Because what you do uncover when you start reading about this is like, yeah, they threw parties like you said, but that basement there, it's documented that they did a lot of seances in the basement. Like,
right,
that's what they used to do, like when that place opened. And the theory is that they just let something out and they never got it to go away.
The common thing that keeps repeating in all these demonic or demon related stories is that at some point in history, people messed around with the occult. It opened portals to another dimension. So there is a consistency there with this one, the Bel Air house, the Conjuring house, etc.
The episode we went over last time too, same city.
What
was it called? Which mansion was it? The McPike, right?
McPike.
Yeah, so the McPike one, there was a bunch of people that went in there and did the same kind of thing. And like I said, the drawings that they made are still on the wall, whether that's just random graffiti, but so those kind of rituals were held in that house. And you're right. I mean, a lot of these houses, they have that in common where, people mess around with stuff maybe they didn't know too much about, or maybe they were just going overboard. I mean, we've done that ourselves. Going overboard, trying to conjure something up, just see if we can get something going, but so it happens.
I wonder if we accidentally opened a portal in the Nathaniel
in the Emory
Hawthorne.
Morgan Hotel.
No, the Nathaniel Hawthorne.
I don't know about
In the
that one.
tank.
That one we drew our own Ouija board.
I don't know if we opened anything, including our eyeballs in
maybe
that one.
maybe a police report or two. I don't know. So I found more on this the artist that you're talking about. This one has him named Charlie.
Oh,
So I don't know
Charlie.
if these are just conflicting reports, which is what we get all the time, or if it's just wrong. But he's rumored to haunt the bar. So this is a different guy than Lou Harwood. So Charlie, we just got a first name of it. They said that there's no evidence of his death, but the mural that he painted does still exist in the former bar area. So I guess you could still go see the painting, but it says he's rumored to be a ghost that haunts the hotel bar. The story goes that he was a struggling, depressed artist who drank his sorrows away and rang up a bar tab he couldn't pay in order to pay it. Yeah, the exact story that you just said. He shot himself instead of paying his bill. The mural still exists. Over the years, there is no evidence about who actually created the piece. So that's probably why they have him named Charlie and George.
Right.
Because they don't actually know who really painted it, but that's kind of the story that had floated around town. Again, no pun intended. I keep saying floating. And then there's another little girl who haunts the pool area. I think you touched on this one in the story in your video, right?
Yeah, this is Cassandra. So this is the one that they said she was having her 10th birthday party at the pool area. Parents weren't paying attention. By the time they turned around, she was already dead in the pool. The thing is, there's nothing to back this story.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no backing of the actual story, but people do have a lot of interactions with this girl. And that's why it's believed that she might just actually be that demon that's down there. And the demon, oh, sorry. So you're right about the painter. Is George the guy in the basement now? Maybe that's what it was. And I'm mixing names up. Or I think it's William, actually. I think William's the guy in the basement. Regardless, what people think is Cassandra, the little girl ghost, is, and not everybody thinks this, but they think that that might be the demon using one form to lure people down there to feel safe. And then he shows more of his true form in William, who's a lot more aggressive, and maybe hasn't even shown his final demonic form.
Huh.
So
It's possible. That's another thing that you hear a lot in the demonic stories is they take form, like Annabelle, for instance.
Right.
It faked that it was a little girl.
Right.
Trapped.
That's what it all. That's something you're gonna. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna do more stories where you're gonna hear the same thing because it's a frequent recurrence that these demonic stories. It always starts with like the ghost of a child, and then it turns out the Sally House is the same way. So, like, I'm sure we're gonna cover the Sally House at some point, and the Sally House is a demonic spirit that disguises itself as a child, Sally, and is actually a demonic spirit. There's no evidence of Sally, I believe. Like I said, we'll cover that story eventually, but yeah, it's a pattern. And I mean, it might make it a little boring that there's patterns, but it's actually I think it's a good thing because like seeing it recur the same way time and time again lets you know that like, okay, people are saying the same stuff. You know?
So a good thing if you want demons to be real.
Well, you know what I mean? I mean, in terms of
yeah.
like legitimizing as much of this as you possibly can, because you're probably never going to fully be able to legitimize it in the eyes of some people, you know. So
they've tried. It's been used as a defense in the courtroom at least twice.
Yeah.
Demonic possession.
Yes.
Not successfully either time.
No, I remember seeing. Was it The Exorcism of Emily Rose? The movie
I
that
don't
was
know
based
if
off
Emily
that
Rose
actual
was
one.
one of them. One of them was the was in Connecticut.
Yeah, that story is wild.
Yeah.
I believe the Emily Rose one, if I'm remembering the movie correctly, that one, and it was her name wasn't really Emily Rose.
No, it was Annalise Michelle.
Yeah, that one was the one that went. If I'm remembering correctly, it went to court and they brought in a bunch of like psychic mediums and put them on the stand, and the judge was like, "What are we doing here? Like, we're talking about portals opening into another dimension and alternate
was,
realities.
Germany, though, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
think.
that was in Germany.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that I've recently listened to something about that entire case, and she was just as at fault as the church, but everyone was playing into it that she was supposed to go through this for God and basically starved herself to death, and it was all epileptic seizures. And
Yeah, they didn't they retroactively diagnose her with epilepsy.
She was, I believe, if I recall correctly, somebody did diagnose her with it at the time.
When did it take place, though?
And they were like, nah, this is demonic possession, and we don't believe you.
But some of these medical terms only came into play in like the 70s. So I wonder what year it took place, because a lot of these things, like, they figure it out and then they give it a name. So I don't know if
it might have been the 70s. I think it might have. I think that might have happened in the 70s. Maybe
it might have been more recent. I think it might have been more recent.
Yeah, it might have been when the diagnosis was relatively new. So I don't know. Who knows?
It was still in its infancy for sure. Like, they were still learning about it and stuff. But there were people that were telling her that she was sick, and that she needed medical assistance, and the family and the church wouldn't let it happen. And it was in the 70s that it happened.
Okay.
She died in 1976. But yeah, I mean, like, how did we get into this topic?
I don't know. We're talking something different.
Demons.
Demonic possessions.
But yeah, so like, it's just, it's a mixed bag, man. It's just a mixed bag.
Yeah, getting back to the location. So the other story that I wanted to touch on, and you had said there was conflicting reports, and I found conflicting reports as well. It's about the Jasmine lady. I don't know if that's what you called her in the podcast, but that's the lady who got pushed down the stairs or fell down the stairs. So it's a marble staircase. So obviously, if you fall down those stairs, you're going to get hurt, or especially if you get pushed down those stairs. So I've heard that she didn't even die. I've heard that she broke her hip, but there's also conflicting reports saying she did die. There's conflicting reports saying that she slipped. I've also seen reports that it wasn't even the Jasmine lady. It was a completely different lady. And the lady that broke her hip is not the one that they're talking about. So whether it was documented or not, I mean, you would assume if she actually died, there would be some sort of a record on it.
She definitely died at some point in her life.
Good job. That's why we have Dave on.
At some point in her life, the end would be the point.
At some point in her death, anyways. Yeah, it says that some stories have claimed she accidentally fell on the stairs. Others have claimed she was pushed. They also have another report where after she died, the husband went up to his room and shot himself. Then this one is saying that this one website in particular is saying that none of those are true, that she did fall on the stairs. She broke her hip. That's because she was fighting with her son, who was wanted by the police for murdering 2 people, which is also an interesting story. So I guess she was in a now, I don't know the sources that this website's using, but
you can tell this website to meet me outside. How about that?
But I'm interested in the wanted fugitive that was in the house for a double murder too. Did that happen in the hotel? Because
I like how the website just listed every other possible scenario that could have been imaginable.
It's like
this could have happened.
Well, no,
it's like that. Did you ever see that Saturday Night Live skit where they're like, "All right, we have to run through like every." The news anchor was going on vacation, so they had to go through every possible thing that could happen.
To the guy. He was eating by wolves.
Gerald Ford died today.
I was gonna say it's like the end of the movie Clue. Did you guys ever watch the movie Clue?
No.
Basically, so the end of the movie Clue, they just ran through like all these different scenarios. It's like, or it could have been this, because they originally shot it with like 3 or 4 different endings, and then they sent the movie out. So all different parts of the country with different endings throughout the country. So like,
cool.
Yeah. So then when they sent it out on home video, they added all of the endings together, and so same idea.
That is actually pretty cool. But just to wrap up what I was saying, so those things that this website listed, after all of that, it said none of these are true. A woman fell down the stairs, she broke her hip, and that's because she was fighting with her son, who was wanted for double murder. The cops showed up after the accident. They recognized the son and arrested him. I don't know why he didn't bolt. Maybe because his mother had a broken hip. And now they do get activity on the stairs. One of the EVPs recorded came through and said it was a misunderstanding. Now I don't know if she's saying
Who's saying that? Like
the
whose voice?
mother. I don't know.
If
So-
she didn't die there, who's
Yeah, so why is
saying
she
that?
leaving
Who-
EVPs?
what-
or
what-
maybe the
Is
ghost
it like a
that did
ghost
die
lawyer
and
or
got-
something? It's like I
The ghost lawyer stuck around just to make sure that
Well,
that it stays clear.
well,
It's
that
not the
that could
records,
be a residual haunting though, because that's like a traumatic event in her life. She breaks her hip. Her son gets arrested for, it's like a big moment in her life.
That's a good
Or
point.
or the ghost who did fall down the stairs and break her neck and die is saying that's a misunderstanding. My name is not the Jasmine lady. She's fine.
It's like I'm haunting this stairway and I want credit for it.
Yeah.
You got the wrong lady.
So give all the credit to the lady that just got an injury.
There's other stories too. Like they have a boy that runs around the first floor, and they don't know his name. They don't know anything. They've just gotten like some audio of him, but the thought with him is like, that kid could have grown up and had a full life, but maybe the most important memory that he ever had was when him and his family stayed at that hotel, because that was like a vacation for people back then, like to go stay at these hotels. So that's a thought sometimes too, the residual haunting aspect of it.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. So I mean, if it makes that big of an impression, maybe that's where they end up. Again, we don't know the rules. We don't make the rules, so could be something. The most popular names of the ghosts that are repeated in EVPs: Derek, Nicholas, Thomasina, Molly. These are the ones that keep popping up but have no historical tie to the building. Something kind of interesting. What is Thomasina? Do you guys ever heard that name before? Tomasina. Thomasina.
No.
It's a weird one to keep popping up.
So for me, this was way more interesting to research than the McPike Mansion, to be honest. So what are you guys' thoughts on Alton? Like, what do you find the most interesting aspect of the town, I guess? And do you guys think that it like really deserves to be listed as one of the most haunted towns in America?
How many towns would we put on the list? The top 3?
10,
Top
but 10, but really 30, because that's the theme.
10, but really 30. I'd say it probably would make the top 30, but I don't know if it would crack the top 10.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go there to make a decision.
Well, I guess, they do have a lot of collective stories in one
Yes.
town where if you compare it to other towns that we've covered.
Yeah.
San Antonio would probably give it a run for its money, but like Harrisville is the one thing,
Yeah. And I don't think you can
maybe
include
Salem. You
cities.
think Salem? What's that?
And I don't
Yeah.
think you can include cities. Like you can't
cities,
include like
cities, there's just so
like
much
San
going
Antonio,
on.
yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you were going like haunted small towns, I don't know
yeah.
how small this town is. You probably mentioned in the episode, but it seems like it's a smaller town. I mean, you have this place, which seems like a very active location, and then the McPike Mansion, which is on the list. So
You got the
I would
graveyard.
say-
You got Smallpox Island.
Yeah.
You
You
got,
got the First Unitarian Church.
yeah.
You have the house of the cop that was murdered during the bank robbery.
right,
The Confederate prison.
Right.
which is really
there's
just a
the
wall now, right? Like there's not much
Right.
left to it, but it's still a
Piazza
location.
But
Piazza
everything was built off of
Masonic-
it.
The Piazza Masonic Lodge is one there that there's reported hauntings.
Yeah.
And we talked about like the Houghton Mansion was a Masonic lodge, and the
Yeah.
Masons are, they're very secretive, but it's alleged that they are demon worshippers.
Alleged by
Nobody-
Dave.
No, you can
I'm
Google
kidding.
it.
I'm kidding. But that's, if you guys want to go back, that's I believe episode 3. We covered the Houghton Mansion, which covers some of the Masonic stuff.
But I think it
But-
is because like just naming all those things that could potentially have paranormal activity in them is like, how many other towns can you like
where there's so many locations. You're right.
like
Tombstone.
Yeah, Tombstone has quite a few. Salem has quite a few, but
It's
everything
definitely
about
up there.
Alton's unique. Like
Yeah.
everything with Alton, like everything in Salem, which we've already talked about. I love Salem, but just about everything in Salem, not everything, but most of it's connected to the witch trials, and rightfully so. Alton, every building has its own history. Some of it's a little lacking, like the McPike Mansion, but every different building, the story is different. It's not everything happened here, like, and then it's spread throughout the town. Every single building that you go to, the story is different.
Right. So if we're making a list of small towns, I think out of the ones that we've really looked into and the ones that we're going to cover in the near future, I think this one definitely makes a top
3.
10 to 15 list for sure.
Well, out of what we've done, yeah, top 3.
Out of what we've done, probably top 3, yeah. But dude, if we're going to include cities, obviously we covered San Antonio a couple weeks ago, but I don't think anything's going to top New Orleans. I mean, I'll have to look more into some more cities, and we'll do a New Orleans episode in the future. But we did a couple ghost tours down there. We should go to New Orleans for sure and cover some of the crazy shit that's happened down there, because New Orleans is bonkers. I know you've been there a few times, Rob.
Well, do you guys know what the number 1 ranked haunted state is?
No.
Massachusetts.
It is not. Massachusetts was in the top 10, but it's actually Texas. Texas has the most haunted history.
It's huge. Yeah, that makes sense. I if I were to put money on it, even though I already know the answer, it would have been either Texas or California, just by the sheer size of it.
Yeah.
But
just always bet on those. I think you don't include cities because, like, Boston's haunted history is crazy. You have,
true, yeah.
Like you said, New Orleans is massive. I'm sure if we dug into any of the major cities, it's gonna, dwarf any of the smaller towns for the most part. I mean, other than maybe Phoenix isn't one of the newer cities. Maybe Phoenix doesn't have as much of a haunted history, but who knows?
I would just be careful.
Phoenix is on. Is older than the city.
Yeah, right. Just to go back to what you said about dwarfs, I'd be careful saying that. Dave's right there.
I was waiting for somebody.
And that's how this.
Anyways, awesome. Yeah, so it's on my list of places to go. Alton, Illinois, and like I said, if we end up digging up some more stuff, maybe we'll go back to it for a part 3. But that was the first ever part 2. Nice job, Rob. I know you put a lot of work into that. Obviously, putting 2 episodes together is not easy. So
it was a little bit more work than I expected, but
was it twice as much?
I finished that video at 7:15 tonight.
Nice.
Oh wow! Very good. I still had time to jump on a little phasmophobia before the stream. That's impressive.
I also created that new opening too, which I didn't need to do yet, but
yes.
I
liked
it. Yeah, coming together good. Anyways, that was episode number 13. We didn't even talk about the number. Look at that, it's super creepy. 13. Boom, did it. Anyways, that was episode number 13 of Hometown Ghost Stories, Alton, Illinois, part 2, the very haunted Mineral Springs Hotel. Shout out to Rob for all the work that he put in on part 1 and part 2. Next week we're going to bring you the Whispers house, or the Whispers estate in Mitchell, Indiana. And then Dave, what do you got coming out after that?
We have the Vallecas haunting in Madrid, Spain. Damn. All right, we're going international again. Volpe says that this is episode 12B, not episode 13, so he's disputing that, and we will discuss that off air. Much deliberation. We have a lot of voting. We're going to have our lawyers take a look at that. Our ghost lawyers. Nice. Anyways, everyone who swung by the stream, appreciate you guys for hanging out, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Hometown Ghost Stories. Make sure you drop a sub on the YouTube channel. We'll talk to you guys next time. Later, guys. See ya. Hey guys, I'm Jesse Wilkins from Hometown Ghost Stories. I want to thank you so much for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can see when we go live again. Also, if you're interested, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. The link is in the description below. Lots of cool perks. You can get your name in the credits, customized videos, join us on the live stream. Lots of cool stuff there. So head on over to Patreon, check out Hometown Ghost Stories. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. All the links are available below. And we'll see you guys next time for another episode of Hometown Ghost Stories.